Well,
We are live. This is Margarita Crystal Lotus, and here I have with me Rosanna Martella, and this is the third episode in our chakra healing course. And today we're going to talk about the solar plexus chakra. So I go to my co-host, Rosanna, and ask her the first question. What defines the solar plexus chakra? And what is the third chakra all about?
okay. The third chakra is why I'm not getting on.
You are live right now.
Okay. Okay, so the third chakra is the element of the third chakra. It's fire, and it's placed in the soft part of the torso, right below the rib cage and right below the sternum. Actually, you know, if we recap a little bit, the earth is matter, so that first chakra was the container. Then there is the movement of the water and the emotions. So the emotions, they're making the fuel, let's say. And the third chakra is the engine. It's whatever brings out from those two basic chakras, they're brought up to the third chakra. So the earth and the water anchors it to a reality that it's forming in a child. And this fire it's like an alchemical fire that burns out and it brings in transformation. So you can ask me the second question.
Yeah, so I'm really excited here because, like, if we do these physical stuff in the first root chakra and then brings it up into the second with water, what comes next is the fire, obviously. But I wanted to insert a little question there in between before I go to the tasks of the third chakra. What can you give an example about fire in the body? What is it?
Well, you know, you have to think of this child that is 18 months old, and it's when this third chakra begins to develop, and it's from the 18 months to 4 years old. So the child now starts to understand that he becomes a separate identity. He's not attached to mothers anymore, so he has to make things for his own. He has to try to see what he can do with what he has there. And so there is this transformation that happens that it's very, very complex, that it's within the third chakra, because the child started to understand things that before he was very passive about life and what happened around him, because he had mother and the family and everybody taking care of all his needs. Now he's making things happen for his own. He's starting to see what is around in a territory that he can explore and what are the things that he can do on his own. So this is a development stage that it brings in transformation. So the tasks and the needs are very important here.
Yeah, and what are the actual tasks of the third chakra?
Well, the tasks are what I was saying, development and starting to become autonomous. So there is this autonomy that is important. Then there is the development of language, because the child starts to learn how to put together phrases instead of just words. And then there is the impulse and control, because at this stage, the child has to master holding or letting go of things. And then there is toilet training, which is another very important thing. And so there is the self that it starts to emerge. It is self-definition of the person that it's starting to come out. So those are the tasks.
Yeah. And then there comes the needs. What are the needs of the solar plexus chakra?
The needs are appropriate discipline. The child has to be in a right condition of, yes, being disciplined, but not being over-disciplined. There has got to be support and also autonomy for this child to try things and don't get hurt. And then confidence, encouragement of the things that he does well, and then play. Because all of these have to get together for us to develop in the right way.
So what I'm understanding from this, what you've said, is that the third chakra, that's the place where we're setting our personal boundaries to other personal things. Did I get that right?
Yes. Well, we start to learn where the boundaries are. And it all depends what kind of family we're in, because there are families that and parents that they put much more boundaries than others, and that it all depends where the child's what kind of family he is in order for him to develop in one way or another.
Yeah, I mean, I can see that there can be difficulties if you're not allowed to set boundaries, or there is abuse or any kind of such a things going on. Yes. Then we don't know how to set our boundaries, because we're not allowed to do it in the correct way or in the healthy way, let's say.
Right. So there is a lot of basic issues that needs to be understood in this third chakra.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And the first issues are energy and activity. If our grounding of the first chakra is solid, remember that building, that part of the building that it's so important that it is have to hold on to all the other chakras above, and the natural flow of the emotion and the movement is not stopped, it's not kept not free, then we all have the meaning of changing all this energy that is within us into action.
Yeah, isn't it like a small sun there in the belly that transforms?
Yeah, that's why we're talking about fire. It's the fire within that needs to be developed, that it needs to be learned what we can do with this fire when we're just, on the way to be 2, 3, 4 years old. Mm. And so this is a natural expression of energy and activity. And a healthy third chakra exhibits this energetic vitality. And there is enjoyment and enthusiasm about life, and you know how a child is, that he wants to experience everything, he wants to touch everything. So there is a sense of personal power that develops, and it gives us hope and gives us this positive outlook on life, and not afraid to venture into the unknown and take risks or make mistakes. But if the activity, it's met with shame because the family members or somebody in the family is putting down this child that is trying new things and makes mistakes, then when there is this shame and disapproval, diminish the sense of power of the child. And we distrust our ability and fear the consequences. Mm-hmm. So to avoid further shame, we inhibit our impulses and we constrict this self-consciousness that we get.
Yeah, I could see that, a little kid in front of me running around and then trying to manage his or her energy to achieve what it is that they want, right?
Yeah.
And isn't that the natural inner power we are developing there?
Yes, and it's also, you know, like when that power is thwarted, it's like we lose the being spontaneous and play, and like, you know, this playfulness that is about life that we have at that point gets destroyed. So we lose the opportunity to be playful. And not only that, that robs us of our basic vitality and our wholeness. So this is a very important time of our life to develop this happiness about life.
Yeah, that was up to the age of 14 months or something, right?
Well, it's from 18 months to 4 years old.
Okay, so 18 months to 4 years old, and that's a very, you know, the temper tantrums of kids. It's
yes,
very challenging for the parents most of the time.
I've noticed that yes, it's the parents, how the parents handles those tender, you know, those moments in the beginning, and that it's all, you know, it's like it needs to be done in the right way. If not, either they continue for the whole life, and you see growing ups that they also have tender.
Yeah.
You know, and
see that in older adults too, mind you.
Yes, and that it's not good, because this person has never learned how to be a full human being with power within.
And that's a very, very good point, Rosanna, because I've been working in business for a number of years in my 20s and 30s, and it was sometimes that you were in a group of kindergarten guys, because most guys that I worked with in the company I worked, and they sometimes behaved like 4-year-olds or 3-year-olds. I had that thought.
Well, most people do not master, are fully growing up, because of the third chakra is not fully developed. Most people don't develop it because, I mean, let's go on and we'll see. Now, the next thing is autonomy.
Yeah, what is actually, why at this stage the child needs to develop autonomy and individuation? Can you define what that is first?
Well, we're always got to go back to this idea that it's a progression from the lower chakras to the upper chakras. And this progression goes from individuality to universality. So this is how we grow and we move up in life. We begin, you know, in that merged state with mother, then we separate ourselves to become independent individuals, to emerge again into a larger world, and this time as a conscious individual. So we can think of the first 3 chakras as the lower gear of a system, and they keep us grounded, engaged, motivated, and active, and they prepare the individual self as to interact with the world. But then the upper chakras connects us to the universal thoughts and communications and the vision and understanding of the bigger things, the world, the universal things. So this autonomy, it's necessary for the third chakra achievement. Autonomy is an essential part of the person's responsibility, because if we are not, we don't have this idea that we're separate, we cannot take responsibility for ourselves and our actions. And so we lack the autonomy, and often we start blaming others and other things for our actions.
So if you have a person who blames something on other people, that is a problem of the solar plexus chakra?
Yes, if this is the person that initiated this action, and that action didn't go well, then the person will start blaming other things and other factors, not himself. He doesn't even want to acknowledge that it is his problem because he began that. So that it's what is all important. Like we need to be our own self, our own individuals, and that is what individualization is. Also, it's when the third chakra becomes a point where this individualization process begins. It is here also that the ego awakens and begins to differentiate.
So how do you define the ego in this context?
Well, after we identify our physical identity and our emotional experience, we begin to form this autonomous new experience. And this marked the birth of the ego and a conscious realization of oneself and a self-determining separate identity. You know, Freud and Jung talked about the ego in their own terms, but the ego it's an organizer of of the instinct's energy. And in terms of chakra, though, the ego it's an organizer of these energy coming up from the chakra 1 and 2. And it combines with consciousness coming down from the upper chakras. And we shape the ego with consciousness, life energy, it's a substance. So the ego functions as an executive identity, like the CEO of the self. The ego forms the statement of who we are and who we make the world see of who we are. So the third chakra actually tells the world who we are. And
it doesn't necessarily need to be the true us, is it?
Well, I feel like that in the third chakra, the personality of the person starts to emerge. So it should be who we are, deep into the self. So because the ego, it's formed a statement of who we are in the world. It also, it defends us, it protects us, and it protects this vulnerable core that it's inside of us. And a strong ego is able to integrate different difficult experience and maintain a constancy within the self. It keeps the self consistently safe and engaged and effective in the mundane world around us.
Can I ask you another question here to do with the ego? Do we have a fixed ego, or can the ego also develop?
I think the ego is the strength within us, but it's how the family and our caretakers of that developmental stage that has to do with how we progress into a healthy ego or not. See, the world ego is a combination of the Greek roots, the I and earth. So the ego is the grounded self of the individual, and it's the consciousness of the individual. Like the ego is like a house. It's where we live. It contains us and gives us a place to grow and change and create boundaries, which are necessary for forming ourselves as an identity. So all of this has to come together within the context of who are the people that are around us while we're developing, and how these people act and react with us and our mistakes and our learning processes.
Yeah, that's a good definition. The ego is the house I live in this reality, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And we can upgrade to a more flexible house or a more spacious house. I mean, I think that is happening in the higher chakras, right?
Yes, it always is. It all depends how the first, second, and third chakra develop, and if they're developing in a healthy manner, then the energy that it comes down from the upper chakras gets all mixed in together, and it brings out the perfect individual, which perfection doesn't really exist, but the unique individual, and that is the thing that it makes us, our will develop.
So the next thing is how to create that will. How does will and, for example, self-esteem arise? Is that also from the solar plexus?
Yes. We can find the will if, to find the will, we must look inside of us. What are our needs? And there is, and it's there that the fuel of the will gets this passion and desire and the strength to achieve things and to make decisions. So as our children, the problem is this, that when we're children, we are rewarded when we are doing what we are supposed to do, and we are punished when we don't comply. So this is a crucial time of the development of the autonomy of the will, because if we tend to be taught that the structure is outside of ourselves, if people tells us what to do, and they have no regards for the needs and the direction of this that the self has to take. So obedience requires will, but if our will is given to somebody else, to another person, it's a disembodied will. And we, as children, we're always taught to do the things that the growing up wants us to do. So we don't develop this will as good as we should because of the fact that we're told what to do. And this obedience removes us from the responsibility, and we are just following others. Yeah. And this is what most of the world people do. It's not easy to grow up. It's a very difficult thing to be a child and try to learn all these things. And then when you feel like that you got the power to do it, somebody else stops you. Mm-hmm. So in order, if something wrong happened when we are giving responsibilities to others, then it's also the fault of somebody else if we do something wrong. Mm. So when we accept obedience as a habit of giving the disobedience to others, we become like little slaves. And we forgot.
This is really critical in this time to revisit. Can I ask this question now? How do you remedy that? If you didn't get that will and self-esteem as a child, you have to really go back, right?
Right. And that is the difficult thing when you're growing up, because I've seen people that they have absolutely no will, or maybe they have few spurs of, I'm going to do this, and they get very excited about it. And then within 5, 10 days, they go back to that thing. Oh, well, this is not possible. I'm not allowed to do this. This is too much work. It's too much. So we remain trapped in our little self, and that small ego that is unable to enter it's not able to enter into the fourth chakra, because let's not forget that the next chakra is the fourth chakra. It's that part of us that really mix everything in from above and below. And so the fire in our third chakra, it's very vital and important to bring this joy, this willingness to do things, this new energy that it needs to be mixed up and being
integrated.
Huh?
Integrated.
Right, you got the word, thank you. Integrated with the love and the energy that our chakra has, which is the most biggest electromagnetic energy of our body. The earth chakra is the biggest chakra of all of us, in all of our other chakras. So this will, it's important to bring us in this new reality. But you see, the third chakra is located in the soft part of the torso, and there is no bones there. In front of the solar plexus, there is no bones. There is above, but there is nothing there or below. There is the soft part of our body. So it means that it's the only thing that holds up our body upright is this chakra, the energy that it's this will that it is within our chakra. But if our self-esteem is low, then the will is broken.
Yeah.
And then we are tired and have no vitality, and then our body collapses. So we can also see somebody that has a good will just by the posture of the person, how it walks, or how the body is upright well. It's not turned in. So
yeah, I've seen some of these people, they hunching over,
exactly.
maybe also over the heart, but also in the midriff.
And there is no power there. And so the one thing to develop this will and to have this part of our body strong, we need to exercise. And the best thing for this is sit-ups, because sit-ups strengthen the stomach muscles that support this part of the torso. Mm-hmm. So exercising, why do we feel better when we exercise? Because it strengthens these muscles that they're containing the will, they're containing that part, that self, that it needs to be protected, but it also needs to be fueled by the fire of this third chakra. Yeah. So that it's a very important thing to do. It's why exercise is very, very good for us. And then there is the self-esteem, that it's another important and vital thing, because without self-esteem, we can't even trust ourselves. And with self-esteem, we can better face the unknown, and we have a sense of self that does not fall apart when things go wrong. Mm-hmm. That can still maintain consistency, and face challenges. So we can face the challenges of life. When we have self-esteem, we can do that. For because for a healthy ego, it's okay to make mistakes. For a shame-bound personality, though, there is no room for error, because we always feel non-confident, and we always feel, how can we reach and grow if we are not able to make mistakes. But if a person is so self-conscious and afraid of making mistakes, that person is not going to venture out into the unknown.
Yeah.
And so,
is this to do with what you call the demon of the third chakra?
well, it is part of it, because people with a healthier self-esteem tend to treat themselves well. They take care of their bodies, and they're more connected with their feelings and allow themselves some pleasure. But and they don't have too much depression. They come out of depression real fast, you know, the up and downs of life that we all have. So when we have the demon of shame, we don't feel that we have power. And shame blocks and prevents energy from rising from the lower chakras. It's what the shame that collapses the third chakra. So shame-bound personality feels stuck, and many fall into the pattern of compulsive repetition and addiction, because the shame, it's the presence of suffering and this need to just recreate misery and failure keeps on and on and on, and it makes us very unhappy. And there is a false state of equilibrium by just repeating things like mechanically. And this happened when this ascending current that it comes up from the first and the second and the third chakra gets stuck in the third chakra. And so the downward energy of consciousness, it's increased. So a shame-bound person is all in his head.
Oh yeah, that's very interesting that you should say that, because there is so many people who is in their head. They think they are logic, and of course they are logic, but they're not connected, right? Connected down.
Yeah. Well, shame-bound people honors their thoughts more than their instincts, and especially the internal voices that constantly tell them how worthless and inferior they are. So they put up their superiority with this idea that they're very intelligent and they know it all. And so shames create these blocks from the mind, and the body splits, and it's like it splits from the core self. So the mind is separated from the core. So spontaneity is limited by internal scrutiny, and which binds and disempower the will. And actually the shadow forms erupt in this particular part, increases that sense of shame and inadequacy. So it's all a big Macedonia of things that happen at this point, that it gets difficult to live that way.
Yeah, and then I mean, you have met people like being in the head and thinking that they know everything, and then they lecture you and all kinds of things like that, and we don't feel good about it.
But you can't even tell them to look at life in a different way, because they're so much convinced of their own views of their own mind that they're not even open to try something different.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, and that is a problem, right?
Yeah, those people are stuck. They're stuck, and I feel sorry for them because they don't live life. They live a very sorrowful life, and they're afraid to even show it, you know, to others. So they're divided within themselves.
So what can you suggest if you know a person who is like that, who sort of hears this, what possible thing can you do for a person like that?
Well, in the end, we're going to talk a little bit about how to heal things. But the first thing to do is to do exercise and setups so that that fire gets stronger within the self. And then at that point, when that happens, then there should be a change in diets, change in a lot of things. And the person has to be open to change.
Yeah.
So that it's, determines what this demon is of shame. And I think we can go to the next question.
Yeah, like you've written here, proactivity and power are two important factors. Can you describe what the two things are first? So we understand from what perspective you come.
Well, proactivity is about choosing your action rather than controlling or being controlled by them.
Mm-hmm.
And power is the ability to make changes and transformation.
So it's all about having an awareness inside about, okay, what do I want? And then initiate that, what I want, and put the power behind it.
Because proactive people takes responsibility for shaping their own future, for initiating behaviors that will create the situations that they want. A proactive person does not wait to see what will happen. He's going to go and make it happen.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's me all right. When I was a kid, my parents probably, what should we do with her?
Right. Well, but it's important because proactivity requires initiative and the initiative of a will. So you have to have a will to do something in order to be proactive. If you are afraid and you are ashamed of making mistakes, then you're never proactive. But a proactive person is not afraid to make mistakes. You make mistakes and then you try again, and it's through mistakes that we learn how to do it better. It is very way to learn. So the more mistakes we make, the better we become. If we are willing to learn from our mistakes, because there is those people that, I remember even when I was little, if I had made a mistake and I was really ashamed of, maybe the next time around I didn't try it. But as I grew up, I learned to make more mistakes and not be too much afraid of making them, So this power, the fire started to boil hotter inside of me, I guess, and that's how I was able to make more mistakes and learn from those mistakes and keep on going.
Yeah.
So, the power, it's not a thing, but it's a way, it's a process to become real. Yeah. To have power, we dare to live authentically. We are, more risk-taking. And the more we take risks, the easier it becomes, because the more we learn how to do it better.
So what you're saying here is like, when we're little, we should be allowed to do mistakes and not be completely.
Yeah, and I feel like my mother made me too protected when I was little. She was in charge of everything, and she took care of me too much. Well, children that were allowed to go outside and play with other kids and get beat up, they had much more power than I did, because I was kept home and not been able to interact with other kids and make mistakes. Mm-hmm. So I had to make mistakes when I grew up, and that was much harder, because, when you're a full-grown person, you don't like to make those kind of mistakes that a child makes, So it was difficult, but I guess I had enough fire in me to keep on going and keep on trying.
Okay, so can you give some examples of how does authority and punishment can help and also destroy us?
Well, this is a tough one. We are in a world that it tends to have all these people in authority, but no one is really in charge. Mm-hmm. You know, we are fighting a legacy of previous generations that believed in the ultimate authority of God over man, man over woman, and parents over children, and this was the way to go. And children were at the bottom of the heap, where we're seeing, and we were be able, we only had to be seen and not heard. And a quiet child was obedient child that would never talk back to his parents. And a spoiled child was beaten. You know, breaking the child will was believed to be a kindness to do to the child. And so then this makes a society of people that are followers and not leaders, because our will is robbed and twisted at a very young age. Our culture is built upon denying basic instincts. And this authority is an issue that is present in everyone's life. You know, the children were, as children, we encountered all this in the authority of the others, the parents, the caretakers, the older siblings, if you had brothers and sisters older than you, and babysitters, and then school teachers. I mean, I had some school teachers that they were really wicked, and they made me hate school. You know, while school should be a fun thing because that's where you learn, and you learn to do new things, and you learn. So, but these teachers, they were so unhappy themselves that they made sure that the whole classroom was unhappy with them. So this model of authority has influenced all our life and all our growing up and learning of this authority of that is outside of ourselves. One authority should be inside of ourselves, because we need to command our lives. We need to have this inner authority that has a solid presence. You know, it's like we need that part of us that it's inside, that it sends us to bed when it's time that we're tired, that it gives us the time to get up in time to go to work in the morning, or if pushes us away from the table when we had enough to eat and drink. But instead, we have all these people that have no authority inside of them that tells them, stop eating, you got 300 pounds already piled up on your body. Mm-hmm. And that's why this modern society is full of people overweight. People that are unhealthy because they don't have that internal fire anymore. They lost it. We as a society, we lost it because we were punished all the time.
Can I ask you a question there? Were there other times in history when this same thing happened?
Well, I feel like history repeats itself. Mm. So it has happened over and over again from beginning of time. And those people that they're willing and able to resurrect after all this terrible stuff that is done to us since we're little, they're the heroes. I mean, we all should be our own heroes, but those are really the heroes, the ones that stand out and are able to be the leaders that care for humanity, not that use humanity for their own stuff. Mm. So
So how do we heal that third chakra? How do we strengthen?
Because I don't know. Authority tells us to go against our nature and resonates very deep inside with fear. And fear regresses the third chakra to the first chakra level, to survival. So, our act of self-definition becomes self-preservation. And right now that the economy is going downhill and it doesn't look like it's stopping, it's in a free fall almost, we're so afraid that we're all in self-preservation at this point. We don't know what's going to happen next. So fear, it installed into us because of this regression to the first chakra. We should think that the earth is full of everything we need. Instead, we are destroying the earth, robbing the earth, and then we're saying we don't have enough. We don't have enough.
That's not really true. We have everything we need, right?
Yeah, but it's the way we've been indoctrinated since day one, that there is never enough, and then we want more, and punishment forces us to deny ourselves in order to protect ourselves.
I saw something about overconsumption. It's like the earth right now overconsume. There won't be enough for this overconsumption to continue.
Yes, I understand that. So maybe it is good that we have less now, because maybe we can reassess of all the good stuff that we have,
yeah,
all the surplus that we have in our homes and in our lives. And that should make us feel like, let's conserve, let's be more aware of how we're spending this money that we have, or we're spending of all of this goodness that is around us. And but it's always important to know that the power within us, it's very, very strong if we are willing and want to develop it, and instead of feeling weak and ineffective and inadequate.
You said something also, to strengthen the solar plexus, it's also to calm down an excessive fired third chakra, like it's too much fire in there. How do you do that?
Well, that it's the next step. Let me see. Let's talk a little bit how we can heal this third chakra. Yeah. The third chakra could be deficient or excessive, or it's rare that it is just perfect. So the lack of fire in a deficient chakra, the lack of fire of vitality, and poor self-discipline, weak will, and lack of spontaneity, depression, and feel victimized. It's all about a very poor chakra, because it's missing that fire that it brings the power within. So building a fire, to build this fire, we must examine, first of all, our diet, because the diet is the fuel that we consume to make this fire. So eating food that are low in fat and sugar and additives, because those additives are everywhere in these days. Just look at what Monsanto is doing. And have enough level of complex carbohydrate. Because now people are saying, oh, no, carbohydrates are not good. So people are trying not to eat any carbohydrate, and that is not good either. You need to have complex carbohydrate, not simple carbohydrate. Flour, refined flour products, and refined sugar, that is simple carbohydrate. They burn fast and they die fast. While the complex carbohydrate are burning slower in our system, and they kindle this fire that it's needed. Then the other thing is eating at regular times, at regular intervals, which makes the blood sugar level steady. So the blood sugar doesn't go up and then drops. So there is this even flow of energy constantly fueling your bloodstream. Then there is exercising. Aerobic exercise for 30 minutes, which brings sweating, is very good. Because while you sweat, you excrete a lot of acids, a lot of toxins that goes through your skin. So, and also while you exercising in this way, it brings more muscle tone, and it strengthens the chakras. Also, the muscles that are holding that third chakra. So we become more physically fit, and then the self-esteem increases. So we can strengthen the will that way, increasing physical energy, and we give more conscious attention to our consciousness and our goals and our desires. So that is how you strengthen a very weak third chakra. Then there is the excess, which most of the time I was before I started getting into this healthy way of doing things that I've been doing for over 20 years. And that it's a chakra that has more energy than the system that can handle. And this energy can be discharged or rerouted and needs to be rerouted to other chakras. So we need an open channel for emotional expressions. If you live in a place where your emotions cannot be expressed, then keeps all that fire inside boiling, and it's not good. So and then we need to increase the grounding, because as we increase the grounding, we are able to discharge some of this excess down to Mother Earth. So walking on the grass, with no shoes on, it's a very good thing. That is a grounding thing. So this excessive third chakra needs to relax. We need to learn to sit still and let go of control. Guided meditation is very good for this because it takes us in a deep relaxation, and it's a good place to start. Then practice yoga, and I love yoga. I do yoga almost every morning. That promotes relaxation and calm. It makes our body flexible. That dissolves blocks, and those blocks make tension. So we want to get rid of the blocks, and so yoga is the thing to do. I've been doing this for 20 years, and I discovered immediately how much more calm I was after I started doing yoga every morning.
Yeah, I agree with that. If one is upset, one goes out and jogs and moves, and then you come back happy, right?
Right. And so we need to take time to do nothing. It's very important, and it is extremely difficult for somebody with an excessive throat chakra to do that. I remember my mother, she used to come and visit me from Italy, and she would sit around and say, oh my God, we're not doing anything. We can't do this. Like she was the type of person that she was a go, do. And I was saying, Mom, it's okay. We can relax sometime. Just enjoy being present.
Yeah, I agree with that too. It's like, I am like an A personality. Do everything, do. But I live here out in Kingston. It's a very nice environment, and I often every day go out several times and just look at the green, the trees and birds and stuff, even in the winter.
Yeah,
it makes a difference.
I like to walk. It's also good to walk about a half an hour a day with any kind of weather. I always walk with my dogs every day. So, but we need to work with the anger, because anger is particularly relevant with the third chakra, because the chakra is a fairy energy, so anger builds up. And blocked anger can create both excessive or deficient conditions, but it is likely to be more excessive than less. So anger is felt when we're not expressing it, and it is more likely to result in, it's like an excessive condition that makes this happen. It's the energy that the body attempts to meet a challenge through increasing its charge, because you got this anger inside, so you just express. I remember at one time when I was married with my first husband, I would bring this big rug that I had outside, I hang it over the fence and beat the heck out of that rug, because I was not able to express my anger to him and his family. So I got rid of my anger that way. And it got me going for a few years until my brain went in tilt and I started having seizures. You know?
Yeah, that's not so good. But it's a good wake-up call.
Yes, yes. And I am so grateful for that bee song, because that's where it all helped me to see what was happening inside of me, that it was not right. So this blocked anger is often...
Talk a little bit more about wake-up calls, because like that is what makes us grow, when we have an aha moment, when we have this insight like you had with seizures, and then brought you to solve it, right?
Yes. But you see, blocked anger is often a factor with obesity. Obesity it's like a deficit of the metabolism, but there's something that prevents the matter consumed as food to turn into energy.
Mm-hmm.
So why there is all these obese people around, and they're angry, but because they don't express their anger, then they keep on eating and keep on getting more big, more unhealthy. And that is another thing that, that people don't realize, that they can transform this energy that it comes from the food into the energy that it can be burning for doing other things more important and better.
Well, don't you think there is also some moderation in there? Because I've met a number of really good friends that were or are still quite large. And particularly one friend of mine who just passed away this spring, she had an incredible insight into healing. And but for herself, she did not really change her eating habits. She tried, she couldn't. But at least she was a model for other people, and she did an amazing job of informing other people by her own example in what she talked about in her care about things. And I mean, she even knew the garbage collector's name, because she went out there and talked with them. And so I don't know if one can say with sort of a one-liner, obesity is inadequate, fire. Yeah, maybe it's true, but don't you think that there is other reasons as well, as some person had that?
Well, it is all this stuff, all this emotional baggage that it doesn't get expressed.
Yeah.
And that is also, I think, that it makes us not be able to look inside of ourselves and make a change.
Right.
Because this emotional stuff that it's blocked in the second chakra doesn't have movement, because most of the time a person that it gains weight is because it's not moving enough.
Yeah, I agree with that.
If there is no movement, so these emotions are not, you know, remember the water can be rough, you know, just look at the ocean. The ocean can go crazy for a while and then it calms down and it's okay. But you have to go from these movements of rough and slow or high and low, and then there is equilibrium within yourself. But if you don't do that, you know, I learned from macrobiotic to observe nature. Nature can teach us so much just by observing how it acts and reacts around us. So, you know, you may say that fire, it's not burning properly, or that the fire energy is blocked in some ways. And I feel like the third chakra, it's using, or it's doing things that it's coming up from the first and the second chakra. So if the third chakra is not able to use it in the appropriate way, then we are sick in one way or another. We're not able to be healthy, and to at least attempt to be healthy as much as we can.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I just had to text my friend. She's calling me. My phone here. So sorry.
Okay. Well, I think we're done for today. I mean, I think we're covered all of these things that they're here. There is only one thing that I wanted to say that I found in this book. This lady, Alice Miller.
Yeah.
And she talks about how this thing that has happened to over the years, to how we break the will of a child.
Yeah.
And she's got 7 points about it. The first point is, adults are the masters, not the servants of the dependent child. Number 2 is, they determine a God-like fashion that what is right and what is wrong. And then number 3, the child is held responsible for the parents' anger. Because a lot of times the parents get angry for some little thing that a kid has done. And most of the time, the parent is angry from something else and he doesn't want to admit it. Number 4, the parents must always be shielded. And I'll make you understand what that means in a minute. Because number 5, the child life's affirmation and feelings pose a threat to the adult. So the child will must be broken as soon as possible, so that the child is not going to go and tell anybody what's going on.
That's horrible. Wow.
All of this must happen. This broken, you know, will has to happen at a very early age, so that the child will not notice and will therefore not be able to expose the adult. So this is what this woman, Alice Miller, that I found in a book that I don't remember where, you know, it talks about this abusive rules that this establishment has made, that it's destroying our third chakra. They impact the development of the will, the self-esteem, the ego, the personal freedom at a very young age. And that's what it makes our core collapse. So we have ways of strengthening the core, and if we exercise and we eat healthy and we looked at how these ways can improve ourselves, and we're willing to improve ourselves, then we can be healthier and live a happier life, because that's what it's all about, is trying to live happy. And next time we're going to talk about the heart chakra, where the joy is, Joy is in the heart chakra, and we have forgotten where joy is in these later days.
Yeah, that like when a person really can do what it's here to do, she or he is here to do, that immediately erupts a lot of joy in the heart because it's connecting, right? We're connecting what we're here to do, and then we connect all this the stuff above and the stuff below. And the joy, happiness is the inevitable result of that.
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay, do you have a final word here in this
I think I said all the words that needed to be said. And so strengthen your third chakra. It's very important. And strengthen your will and do everything makes you happy.
Okay, thank you so much, Rosanna, and we'll see you next week on the next episode of the Heart Chakra.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye.